Howdy. We had some spare parts laying around the shop, so I thought I'd compare the new to the old. Here we have late 40s Jeep T90 and Dana 18 transfer case next to a Roxor 5-speed transmission and their Model 18 variant of transfer case. You can see the transmissions are quite a bit different. Mahindra transmission is just as long as the whole setup for Jeep. If it had the transfer case adapter, it'd be just as long with the parking brake on this one. Picked up this and axles out of that vehicle, and we'll compare the axles in a minute. You can see this one has some performance upgrades to the rear cap here. The factory ones were just stamped steel. They weren't heavy like this, but they were a somewhat similar shape to the Mahindra. And of course, it's got some additive enhancements here and up on the twin stick. This one is the twin stick, and just looking at it, I think it's the next size down counter shaft from this. These had 3 different size counter shafts, I believe, and then different bearing setups. The earlier ones were, of course, smaller, and then they got larger as time went on. This one did have the twin stick option, which kind of still shifts. The top cover was off for I don't know how many years, and there was a rat's nest all the way up to the top, and we put it through the parts washer and got most of it out, but it still turns and it still shifts. So this might be a good project for me to go through, rebuild someday. See if I can de-rust it and restore it. Do the same with the transfer case. The U-joints were the same as what the Roxor uses. The flanges were the same. Spicer doesn't make these flanges anymore. This even has Spicer joints in it. Oh, more performance additive right there to hold the cap in, looks like. But I was able to find a source for these flanges. So those are still available. Internally, the transfer cases are very similar. I have not yet tried to swap the guts over. Dimensionally, they seem like they'll fit. The gear tooth angle is just a little bit different. And then on these, they had a floating input gear that actually rides on the output shaft of the transmission, unlike the Roxor, which has its own dedicated input shaft. The inputs are very, very similar. I haven't measured them all out yet, but they're pretty close. Of course, the mounting at both ends is quite a bit different. That's a direct mount to the back of the transmission. This has an adapter and then a little bit different bolt pattern here. The front housings are interchangeable if you wanted to cut a hole in your floor to put a twin stick out of those. They'd fit right over. The output, speedometer outputs just happens to be on the same side. The reverse gear output, sensor output, I believe is also on the same side. This would be real handy to have. These aren't quite as susceptible to mud like the Mahindra parking brake cables. Mine, actually, I have to take off and see if I can hose it out. But yeah, they're, besides the transmission, you know, it's not a whole lot different. Both right side drop. Over here, we have the axles. 3 out of 4 tires still have air in them. I don't know how old the tires are. All the numbers and letters are kind of wore off of it. But the diffs are both on the right side, along with the Roxor there. You can see it's a little bit narrower for the Jeep. Of course, back in the 40s, everything was quite a bit narrower. But these are, I don't remember what model of axle these are, but that's basically a Dana 44. You can see there's been significant improvements from a closed knuckle to an open knuckle in the Mahindra. Also, the steering is a one piece, so suspension travel isn't going to have your tires moving in and out. But one of these days we're gonna go through these axles. We've already done the Mahindra. And then coming up soon, this transfer case, customer flat towed his from Missouri to up by Helena, Montana, I believe. And somewhere he had a little bit of a failure. You can see the little nose of the front output shaft is still in there. Everything else is gone. I think his drive shaft was okay. We had a transfer case on the shelf, and we got him some U-joints as well. And I haven't heard back from him, so apparently that's all he needed. I got to call him. It's been a couple weeks now. Of course, I was gone, but just to see how it turned out. But we got him another transfer case. So this one we're going to do a rebuild video on. I have not done that yet. We'll put our upgraded bearings and stuff like that in it. I do have another, well, I've got all the guts to go in it, whatever it needs. And we'll set that on the shelf. I'm not sure if I want to sell a reman one or just keep a spare for me. But we'll do a video of that. And then coming up soon, we're also going to do a rebuild video on this transmission. I'm going to see what I can get for upgraded bearings and small parts, stuff like that. Synchronizers might be a challenge, but we're going to tear into it, see what happens. And then a little later on, we'll do probably a rebuild video on the Dana 18 and T90, which we do have parts for. It's a little bit light duty compared to what we normally do, but you know, we do have stuff for it, so I'll pull some parts on the shelf and go through it and see what happens. But I thought I'd show you guys just what they look like put together. I don't know if anybody's ever done a comparison video like this. And then this one, the vent on these, mine, I did take this plastic vent out, and I actually drilled this plastic piece and screwed in just a barbed fitting so I could run my vent up higher. I'm glad I did. That's definitely been needed. And then same with the transfer case vent. I put a barbed fitting on that instead of this, you know, vent right to atmosphere here, which is actually the same as how this one vents. They just vent right there. The problem is you get into some deep water, and then you'll be like what happened to this guy. You got some water in it, and then bad things happen. So we'll do all the upgrades that we possibly can to both of these, and we'll just kind of see where it takes us. I may sell them, I may keep them. I do have another transmission on the shelf up there ready to go. I don't know if you know, I could sell it just the way it is, but if it's not too big of a chore to upgrade these, then I might just upgrade it before I put it up for sale. Yeah, we'll just kind of see how it goes. Be on the lookout for service videos coming right up on these.